Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. And in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Kristin Toth, the founder and CEO of Ulu Partners. Kristin brings a fascinating mix of expertise in industrial engineering, operations research, and scaling high-growth startups. Over 2 decades of experience at companies like Amazon and Zulily, generating operational innovations and leading through acquisitions. And also has a passion for helping founders and executives scale with soul through leadership development and culture building. Based in Seattle, Washington, Ulu Partners, founded in 2023, is revolutionizing how founders and executives foster organizational growth, alignment, and joy in their businesses. We'll be exploring her founding story, how her business empowers clients in the leadership and advisory space, and her vision for scaling this impact-driven venture. So, with that being said, let's dive right into it. Kristin, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks so much, Jay. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show today. An incredible background and really looking forward to the conversation with you, Kristin. So if we can start at the beginning for our listeners here, talk a bit about what specific problem in the leadership and scaling landscape really inspired you to start Ulu Partners.
Yeah, like you said, I've been in high growth companies and startups really for the last couple of decades. And so much of entrepreneurship and building is focused on your customer, your product, your investors, all these things that are you're putting out into the world. And once you get a certain amount of traction, what you really need to do is to build a big company behind it. And that means setting people up for success. And we all forget to do that. There's this shift that we blow right by and we forget to do it. And then it's hard because this building a company really does require different skills than building a business. And it's not usually what you're taught, or if you're taught it, it's a lot of theoretical stuff, and like doing it is really hard. So what I realized a couple startups ago was that I really needed to invest more time in the things that were at the bottom of my to-do list.
Mm.
And it was a really tough challenge to do that. But once I did, the leverage was incredible. And so I did that both at Dolly and then at Furnish, and started implementing some of those things after the acquisition of Furnish and our new kind of combined company. And it just pays off so much. And so when I really thought about what the next chapter was going to look like, I wanted to help people who were building things
Mm.
build it with scalability without the wasted resources and time and just sanity that comes with forgetting to set people up for success. So I want to build builders who are creating meaningful impact in the world and doing so with joy, as you said,
Yes.
and trying to take some of that stress out of that growing pains process as you're starting to scale. And it all comes from having not put enough time into this exact thing before when I was in that position, and then turning the corner and realizing the leverage it had.
I love it. I absolutely love that. With that, knowing the mindset behind it, the success that you've gone through to get to where you are today, Kristin, walk us through a bit of the nuts and bolts for our listeners here. How are you really generating revenue today with Ulu Partners? So if you can walk us through your core offer, I know that you have some tailored coaching programs. So is that one-on-one? Is that group? Is it both? You have some leadership workshops. So walk us through your core offerings and who the ideal client is for you right now.
Amazing. Thanks, Jay, for asking. We think about our offerings in three main buckets. One is a sort of all-inclusive combination of coaching, consulting, and advising. And anything and everything can happen during any of our sessions, but it is a sort of all-in program for 6 months that gets in and really looks at why are you like having trouble with scaling? How do you set your team up for success? How do you build a culture? How do you build your leadership skills in the people leadership space? And then how do you choose the right processes and systems that you need to have in order to create leverage for your whole team? And that is the most intensive thing. We only take a couple of clients a month for that because it is pretty intense. The other thing is custom workshops. So a lot of times people know what they want to do or what they want to accomplish, but they need somebody who's like, how do we make this happen? And whether it's an offsite for a couple of days or a week, or it's a series of workshops that are skill building with different leaders in the company or different teams in the company. We custom make these workshops to create things that are meaningful to teams largely. And then the last one is a little more of a traditional ad hoc, whatever you want to talk about. We do a bit of like analysis upfront. Where are you on culture, leadership, and process? And then we set some goals together. But after that, it looks a lot like in structure, a coaching relationship where we meet a couple of times monthly, one on one, and we make progress and you have accountability along those goals. But it can be very much a combination, again, of the advisory, almost consulting, and coaching all in those sessions, because I think that's what I found, at least when I was in the shoes of the folks that I work with now, is that I just needed it to have immediate impact and results. And I didn't have time to take on another like book to read or something that was going to add to my plate as opposed to finding leverage really soon. So anyway, those are the three main offerings. They're generally done with one client at a time, though those that might be more than one person. And I'm doing a little bit of piloting right now, more one to many, like skill building coaching as well. So maybe that'll make it into the mix soon.
I love it. I love it. Now, who would you say is the most ideal client for what you're seeing right now with your offerings?
The absolute bullseye is the founder CEO who's gotten some traction and is starting to scale. And you hit these inflection points a number of times throughout the journey. So it could be you just brought in your first funding and you're looking to hire some people. It could be that you've brought in a bunch of funding and what's gotten you here is not working to get you to where you need to be. So you hit these inflection points a bunch of times, and working with the founder CEO has really been the point of most leverage. I may also work with other parts of the team, but having that CEO, building the mindset and the skill set and the support system for the changes that sort of ripple throughout the team that makes everybody more successful is like really critical. So that's the super bullseye. But I work with a lot of leaders who are building things or changing things or going through high growth mode, or who just want to do that personally in their professional lives. They want to see that growth in their career and they're looking at how to get to the next level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, with that there, it's clear as day that, you are helping your clients scale. So you have that scale mindset for what you're doing here with Ulu Partners as well. And I can see that across the offerings that you have. Walk us through, is this something that you're still doing, Kristen, as a solopreneur? Do you have a team, a sales team, setters, closers, marketing team? What does that look like as far as the sales process for you?
It's pretty boutique right now. There's a couple of us that work together, and we are doing sales and business development through our own networks. And it's really fascinating because one of the things that I was really nervous about when I started Ulu Partners was how am I going to sell this? Because I'm really great at selling product and service company,
All
pitching
right.
to investors. I love doing that. When it came to like the product and service is me, that was really uncomfortable. And so I've really decided not to go down the traditional path of most of the sales best practices of like very high volume. All the things that I would tell my sales teams I wanted them to do, I'm not doing. So
Yeah.
it's a funny situation, but I've really been really clear on the value that I'm bringing and the right people to work with. And then I'm putting it out there to my network. And they either directly or indirectly are becoming like partners. So either they're becoming clients directly or they have people that they can refer as they're talking to them and like listening to what they're struggling with or what they want to achieve and what the opportunities are, which means a little bit slower growth, but that's okay because since most of this stuff is very like high touch, I don't require millions of customers unlike my previous world.
I love it. So with that there, then is that something that you're looking to now implement? What's your timeline to bringing on more of a sales team internally so you can be in that founder role and that fulfillment side? What does that look like in your mind right now as you continue to grow and scale?
Yeah, I think we're getting close to that tipping point where at least I'd like to have at least a part-time sort of sales solution so that I don't have to do it quite as much, or at least I don't have to get involved for the 100% of the process. And so I think we're pretty close to that. What I would say about what that looks like is I still want it to be very authentic and genuine and human and personal. And I have to be very wary of the fact that I don't want to oversell because the time is limited in the day and I want to make sure that everybody has a great experience. So that's why I'm doing some of the piloting of these higher leverage, more scalable programs to test out what works, what doesn't work, get a lot of feedback, and be ready to launch that as we hit that tipping point because I'll need more scalable options for people to come in and join once we start that sort of sales
I love it. So
cycle.
going on to the acquisition.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, you cut out there. I apologize. I thought you
Oh,
stopped there. I think it was the internet that cut out. And
oh,
then
sorry
talking
about that.
afterwards. I apologize. With that being said, there and going into more of the acquisition side and wanting to understand what's working well, talk to us about what channels, whether it's LinkedIn, referrals, speaking engagements, are bringing in leads for you, and where are you seeing the biggest drop offs right now?
I would just say that it's a considered purchase, and a lot of times that bullseye client is the resource that is most constrained is cash. And so there is a bit of a disconnect or hesitation to make this investment, especially because it feels like you're investing in yourself. And
Yeah,
maybe it's not, you're asking for help, it's uncomfortable. So I would say a lot of people are really interested and excited about the outcome and getting to that final step. Yes, I'm ready to do this now. I'm ready to put that investment in. Asking for help is not a weakness, it's actually a sign of strength and it's going to get me to where I want to go. This is actually like a power move. That like last step is really the one that I think is the most challenging, is getting to the final yes.
absolutely. So, what channels would you say are effective for you right now? Is it going to be more on referrals? Are you doing anything around ads, social media? What does that look like for predictable lead generation?
Yeah, it's really LinkedIn has been the main channel. And so it's really through my network. I haven't been placing any ads yet on any of the social media. I do have Instagram accounts and things like that. And occasionally we do that. But really starting a blog, having LinkedIn, telling the story, talking about the experiences that clients are having and abstracting those themes and the impact. I've been telling those stories a lot in that forum. And that seems to be the one that is bringing in top of funnel the most folks.
I love that. What can you say as far as mindset now? What's the urgency around having a more predictable lead generation system, having more qualified conversations? Are you going to start on the ad side, pushing that out? What does that look like in your mind right now?
Yeah, I'm working on a little bit more of a podcast. Again, storytelling, knowledge creation, and authority, and things like that. And then having been in the ecom and other like consumer businesses, I don't want to spend too much on ads until I really am like certain about what's going to work. Because I know how easy it is to spend a bunch of money on ads. So, content is really the key, as is working through my network, whether it's a direct client or a referral, that partner who might be able to come through, and just making sure that I am hitting them up with content and reminders and that sort of stuff. And the passion and excitement of, yeah, this is a real thing.
Absolutely. I love that. I love it. So, I mean, what can you point to then with that in mind and where things are going and where you want this to go? What are some bottlenecks that you're thinking about right now? I feel like from what we just spoke about, maybe more around the predictable lead generation, that's something that's a bit of a bottleneck. And then adding some more salespeople, are those the main ones for you right now? Or is there anything else that you're thinking that you have to really break through this year?
I think it's really about building a predictable sales funnel and like finding ways to do that authentically because like I said, I it's very personal and I have resisted sort of the high touch, high volume sales
Yeah,
stuff. But I know that there's a lot of value building this out so that we can get to more people, so that we can justify bringing in some more partners who can help out our clients. All of that is definitely top of mind and top of the priority list. I would say the only other thing that I could think of that's a bottleneck is what we've been talking about, which is, hey, if this spigot actually opened up, what would we do? We couldn't take
exactly.
everyone on all at once right away. So are there things that allow us to scale besides breaking out the business development and sales pieces of it, but in our offerings? And so those are the things that we're really working on today. But just like any startup, you're like, I know I'll get there when I need to get there. It'll work. It's just getting the folks who are interested and ready to go.
So, what do you think on that side? What operational processes do you think that you could implement with the Loop partners to standardize or automate on that side to support rapid scaling without sacrificing the quality side?
Yeah, I've already started to do this just because I hate doing repetitive things,
Yeah.
is having a bit of a more standardized and templatized sales funnel, all the way from what are the questions that we're asking, how are we pitching this, and then what happens after we have our initial conversation,
Mm.
all the way up to how are we writing the agreement. So we've got a lot of standardization in that, as well as building in that automation and standardization, even with this pilot program that I was talking about, is just using AI a bunch to say, like, how can you help me automate some of these things and then be able to quickly retrieve them when the time is right and personalize it to the situation at hand. I've actually named my chat GPT. His name is Hal. We work together all the time, and it's fantastic to just be able to build in some business automation so that we can really spend our time with the humans as opposed with with the admin. And I know that we'll see that as we get through building a more scalable sales cycle as well.
Incredible. So I have one more question for you here, Kristen, before going into the lightning round to wrap up the show. And on this side, I would just love to hear from you, really just the vision, right? For the rest of this year, going into next year, give us like the 6 to 12 month plan of what you're really laser focused on. I have a pretty good idea. What are you laser focused on for that continued scale and success of Ulu Partners?
Yeah, lead gen, but that is through refining the sales techniques that we're doing directly as well as our content. So adding that podcast and just launched the blog so that we have some additional content and authority. So that's the sort of like main content, really top of funnel brand stuff. Like you said, I would like to, in the next 12 months at least, start getting more people involved in at least the top of funnel culling and setup. So lead gen in a more scalable way. And then I want to be ready with those higher leverage, more scalable one to many programs. And so I'm going to continue to pilot these things that have been in the sort of hopper, so to speak, for a while and are just going through their initial MVP pilots so that we can be ready to go when the demand is there.
Absolutely. I love that. So with that, going into the lightning round here, Kristen, just two more questions for you. And the first is going to be around more of a tool or a resource. So, what is a tool or resource that you're using right now that you could point to that really is the biggest game changer for Ulu Partners this far?
Oh gosh, choosing one is really tough, but they're both AI. So I'll just say the generally AI has been super helpful. The one thing that I have really loved is using an AI note taker during my sessions because it allows me to be fully present and be in the conversation and still know that I'm going to have notes that I can refer back to and action items, and the using I'm using Fireflies, but Otter is the same, like, bunches of them out there. But what I like about Fireflies and Otter and those like platforms that are purpose built for it is that I do open up my Fireflies dashboard and say, oh, what are all the to-dos that I took today? Make sure that I've got those. So it's helping me be really present in our sessions, and it's helping me stay on top of all the things that I commit to during those sessions. So it's amazing.
I love it. I love it. And then last but certainly not least here, Kristen, what is the best piece of advice that you can offer to our listeners tuning in right now? Just heard your incredible journey and everything you're doing with Ulu Partners and where you're taking it. What can you leave them with before we wrap up the show?
It's such a good question. And I guess advice is so specific to people and the situation that you're in. So, at a high level, what I would say is you're probably holding yourself back more than anything else that you perceive to be in your way. And a lot of that is the mindset and the thoughts that you're having that are reacting to the realities of what is actually happening around you. And so the more that you can understand these limiting beliefs and the limiting stories that you're telling yourself about different situations, the bigger the potential is for you to rewrite those thoughts and then use that to cause different feelings that generate different actions. And that mindset is so powerful. And so that's what I would say. The other thing is, don't forget to find your tribe. This can be really lonely and
Yeah.
frustrating, and there are people out there for you, so don't do it alone.
Incredible. Incredible. With that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders, Future, and Kristen. I truly can't thank you enough for coming on the show, sharing your incredible journey and your insights with myself and the listeners, and just the passion, the drive, the intelligence. It's clear as day that you're going to do some incredible things with Ulu Partners, and the conversation was wonderful. So thank you so much again. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know so many of you have, Don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And also check out Ulu Partners at ulupartners.com for their leadership development services. And follow Kristin on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Kristin Toth. For more resources and insights, visit closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.